Hello, Scarlett.
I know. Here they are. I mean, here I am. What's up, guys?
Get those things
Oh my
under
God,
control.
sandbagging
my God.
everyone. Good God, molasses.
In case anybody's wondering, we're talking about my breasts.
If we were in the recording studio with you, we would have just been knocked against the wall.
Yeah.
So glad you're alone.
It would have just been
Probably,
Scarlett
yeah.
recording the season 4 trailer. Marjorie and I would have been concussed in the corner.
Yep.
Yeah, right. We would have been Kool-Aid Man through the door.
My husband would have been Kool-Aid Man through the door.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it. Enough about my tits. Let's talk about trailer.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. So we're a little excited to get into this trailer, but we've tried to go live. If there's anyone out there that was really excited to watch us do this live, sorry, we tried. It didn't really work out.
Nope.
We're still trying to figure out the live streaming.
technical
But we
difficulties.
do have recording.
Exactly.
Yes. So this is coming to you as soon as humanly possible that we could get it to you. But we are so excited to talk about this trailer. Guys, 59 days until it premieres.
Fine.
Before we get into the trailer, talk to me. What were your first thoughts? I know Scarlett was the first one to drop it to us as a group that, hey, I think April 28th is the premiere day, in which case I also was like, sure, Scarlett, Twitter. I'm sure Twitter's correct. We'll see about that.
Oh, they were very right.
Very
They were
correct.
like hours early too. Like it was only
Yeah.
like it was right before Hulu came out with it. And I was like, oh God, that was real.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was from the Handmaid's Tale Brazil account. Like they had dropped that there's going to be like big news soon or something. And I'm like, oh my God. And that was actually the first one that popped up in my feed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how Brazil is like so on top of this before
know.
Handmaid's on Hulu is.
Yeah.
It's like bananas.
Every single time. The
God.
Handmaid's Tale Brazil account is always ahead of the game. They always have different trailers than the US trailers. So when we started recording season 3, we always would look at what their trailers were. Same thing with the Israeli trailers. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot
That's the
about
one.
the
Oh my
Israeli
God.
trailers.
I was just gonna confuse the two. I thought it was the same thing, but
Yeah.
you're right. I forgot it was Israeli.
Yeah,
not
so the Israeli and the Brazil trailers and accounts have always been like a little bit more insight than what we usually get from the American accounts. But yeah, their Twitter is on fucking point. So if you want to be like on the cutting edge, follow their fucking account. It's brilliant. You'll find out your Handmaid's Tale information a solid hour earlier.
and that's important to some of us.
It's important to the three of us.
Very, very important.
Yeah, it's really important to the three of us because we were really planning on a June, like we were guessing. We had just talked about it the week before of like our timeline. Let's kind of get some wheels in motion, make sure we're ready for the season 4 premiere. And we weren't. No, we will be. We will be. We were just a little caught off guard, but we're really excited.
Extremely excited.
Yeah, we're just going to be ramping up production because we're kind of like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's, we're all restaurant workers. It's kind of like having a 20 top show up an hour early.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's just
we
like
were still
that.
polishing
Yeah.
glassware and setting up share plates, and then they're rolling through.
Yes.
We got the phone call that they are coming in at 6 o'clock and not 7 o'clock, and holy shit, panic mode, excitement, super happy that it's happening. And especially with being April 28th, because I feel like that is definitely a treat considering we are still very much going to be in, sheltering in place, quarantining. Like come June, hopefully a lot of people will have their vaccinations. We'll be kind of getting back a little bit to some sort of sense of normality. So having it drop in late April is really like, it's a solid light at the end of the tunnel. Like I'm looking forward to like
You're right.
my vaccine, but I'm so much more looking forward to season 4.
Yes.
Oh, good things are happening in 2021.
I know.
Yes. So shall we get into it?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
I feel like my notes for this were very haphazard because everything happens so quickly. And all I've got right out of the gates is like, okay, we're seeing the back of the pickup truck and we're hearing tune into Radio Free America, your number one source for news of the resistance. I love that because there's an official resistance and they've got a radio station.
Yes.
And I remember hearing about that. Like, is this the first time? No, we hear about this when The episode that June gives birth. Remember, she's in the garage trying to escape?
Yeah.
I think that's the first time that we hear about the actual radio station.
Oh, that's so funny because currently in real time, the next recording we need to do for our rewatch will be that episode.
Yeah.
But yes, that is where we're going to see it.
So it's quite appropriate. Oh, but even before we see the back of the truck, we see June in street clothing. And we see like...
let's start from the top.
So we see scene, a decrepit, abandoned city. Like tumbleweeds. We're talking like post-apocalyptic nightmare here. And we see June in street clothing, which right away is such a treat because like obviously she survived getting shot. But like the wheels are in motion. Like it's not just going to of like her fully getting or like working on her escape. And you see this decrepit city. My first thought was, is the suburbs of Chicago? Because we know that Chicago is a heavy battleground. It also is very abundantly clear that she's still in a cold environment because she's all bundled up. And I love how like she's staring forward and then her eyes just shift to her left. And then they cut to the Hulu scene. Like, I love that.
I know. It's so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and she still has her tag, which I thought was interesting. And
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, her tag is very visible, and like you said, she's wearing street clothes, and she's in the middle of definitely some kind of abandoned, war-torn, bombed-up place. And the clothing she's wearing is not exactly the same colors as that first scene that we get of the first episode ever.
It's close,
but it feels like it to me. Is it close enough
Yes.
to you too? Like I looked at it, and I'm like. It's not identical, but it just every time I see her, that's all I can think of is that scene from the first episode.
And I think it's the scarf in particular that does it. Because if memory serves,
the blue,
it's blue in the original Escape, and in the trailer, it's like a chartreuse green sort of color. So it's still keeping in the same family.
Oh, is that a scarf? For some reason, I thought it was a backpack.
But she has a backpack, but she also has like a big fuzzy scarf on. But I think like
I don't know why I miss a scarf.
I don't know.
I don't remember this.
So it's like a greenish sort of. It's like a greenish sort of scarf, or it could be a sweater. The color is very similar to the colors that we see in that first season, or that first time meeting her.
Okay.
She was also wearing was she wearing a jean jacket in the trailer?
So it looks like in the trailer, she looks like she's wearing some kind of like yellow, and then she's got like the brown, khaki-ish like
sort of jacket,
backpack,
Yeah.
straps on. But then she's got a blue hat. And I think for me, it was the blue hat that matches the blue like hoodie that she was wearing or something like that. But it's similar colors. But that was my first thought when I saw it, was like, oh, this is June on the Run again. It looks so much like that first scene. It's the same colors. But I was thinking Chicago as well, because clearly city, we know, you know, what's a little bit of what's going on in Chicago, and the fact that she's clearly in street clothing in the middle of a street and doesn't seem to be too concerned about that ear tag that's very visible.
Now, my guess as to why she kept the ear tag on is because she already ripped one of them out or cut one of them out, and then when she was recaptured had to get another one put in. Girl only has so much ear left. So, I mean, honestly, I probably would have done the same thing as well, realistically, because like she has historically, she has, from what we can see, very small ears. Do you really want to rip that out a second time? And then if you do get captured again, have to get a third one put in, you're running out of ear space at this point.
That is true. But so what do we think about those trackers? Do they track them, or are they just markers like tags?
I think they're just
tags,
like cattle tags.
Just tags. Okay, that's the thing. I keep in my mind, I keep thinking this is a GPS tracker, and now I'm remembering that we're just thinking it's a tag. Because okay, that makes more sense. That was my thought, was if they can find her, why is that still in her ear? But
honestly, after June gets through with this place, they're probably going to be like, oh, we need to get GPS on these fucking tags.
Seriously. Seriously. All right, so that's the first shot we get. And then we get the hand turning the dial, and what you were talking about, Scarlett, with the voiceover of the Radio Free America.
So we see there's so much in passing, like just bullet riddled holes.
Yeah, like the buildings are just completely bullet laden. The truck is dilapidated at best. Then our sweet darling handmaids in the back have their handmaid costumes on, which or their regalia, which makes me think that this is coming right on the heels of season 3 or the season 3 finale.
I agree with you. That's where I kept using throughout this trailer every shot, trying to gauge where we could possibly be within the season 4 timeline. And yes, anytime they're in red clothes, I'm going that they can only be in those handmade costumes for the first episode. Probably not very long in that first episode is what I'm thinking. So yeah, red. Anytime I saw red, I'm like, wow, that has to be really, really quick.
It's got to be quick, but not too quick, because skipping ahead a little bit, you know, we do see the original crew that I'm thinking it's the original crew that was carrying her through the woods, carrying a person I assume is her. So this must be like enough for her to be healed so she could sit up in a truck on the way into what might be Chicago, but not so soon that like they were able to like procure like different clothes for her,
right,
or something. Like it's definitely a transitional thing.
There is one shot that I have notes on that I'm like, this has to be the opening scene of season 4, because it's exactly where we left off. Like, how long could they be dragging around June in her cloak? Like,
can't be long.
Definitely not. I mean,
and then
I was gonna say like that's definitely her pallbearer crew. So like.
Yeah,
absolutely agree with you that shot is probably one of the first lead shots that we'll get in season 4, because otherwise, like, they would be dragging around a June forever.
Or they're finding new people to drag around. They're the official ambulance of the war zone. They just run in and out in their red clothes.
This is a totally different take on the baby mobile. The only other possibility I can think of is that, like, if there were any of the guardians that they hadn't eliminated, that they were trying to move bodies, so that way, like, to like cover their tracks. But like at that point, there's already 50 plus kids that are missing, along with multiple Marthas, multiple handmaids. Like, it's inevitable that there's going to be some residual damage. So I thought as well as like maybe this is someone else, but ultimately, who else could it be? But so we have the handmaids, so we can just see Janine and June in the back of this bullet-laden truck. There's 2 trucks though, and a motorcycle leading up, and they're heading into what looks like a dilapidated city. We're assuming Chicago, because it has been mentioned before that is a it's been mentioned before that that's certainly a battleground. And then we start getting a bunch of rapid fire shots, or like scenes, clips.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are really fast. Really extra fast. What have you got, Marjorie? Because I think you were better at slowing this shit down than I was.
So let's see. Let's start from the top. So we see the armed guard. She's a female, so it's safe to assume she is with June in that truck. But I did try to make sure I didn't get sucked into the sequence of shots, assuming that they come together. You know what I mean? Or even that the voiceover has anything to do with what we're actually watching, because this is very, very small clips, and I didn't want to get rabbit holed in a completely different direction. So we get a shot of an armed guard that looks like she is with them. She's carrying some kind of gun. And then we see June in handmaid's clothes. And that's the one. Oh, I said at this point that I thought this was one of the first scenes of the episode, but that one that we see later, I think, is for sure the first scene of the episode. And then we get a shot of the Gilead flag. Cross-check that. It's definitely the same flag. Nothing looks different there. Then we get a shot. So then the voiceover says global sanctions on Gilead are mounting. There's a further part to that quote, but I don't remember. As the latest wave of violence continues. And we get a shot of the boots of handmaids walking, right? Like, it's like 2. But it's a lot of fall leaves, which kind of sent me down a weird rabbit hole of like trying to gauge the timeline. This is the question I had for you, Roxy and Scarlett, of maybe you can remember better than me. Where did we end? What season were we in? It was winter, right? When we ended season 3? Or at least maybe close to spring?
Yeah, it was...
That's what I'm going with.
It was late winter / early spring, because it was still cold enough that So what? It was still cold enough that all of the children that they were smuggling out were wearing jackets and wearing warmer clothing.
Right. Okay.
That being said, since we all live in an area that experiences 4 seasons, there are still like dead leaves on the ground right now in winter.
Right.
To me, that didn't read so much as fall. It just read that it was like sometime between fall and spring, which is when they usually are shooting anyway. So it could very easily be coming right on the heels of the events of season 3 finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. At first, I was like really focused on like it is straight up fall. Let me try to gauge the timeline. But the rest of the scenes, like we do see snow on the ground at one point, and we just basically see barren trees. And I'm with you. I'm not convinced. The shot looks like fall. It looks very autumnish because the leaves are actually falling. It looks gusty, but nothing else in this trailer looks like that at all. So I'm gonna say we should probably not spend too much time thinking about that one shot of fall. We can move on there.
I do love just the visuals of when June, in these quick little rapid fire snippets, June in her handmaid's garb jumping down the sewer, and her handmaid's garb billowing around her as she plunges down. I loved that shot. It was so visually stunning,
so cool.
Absolutely beautiful. It made me giddy to see. And then immediately followed by a quick shot of Joey Lawrence.
Larry's so happy and alive.
So excited for him.
Oh, I miss that guy.
I do too. And he's being escorted by two people though.
You know, I didn't read it like that, but I see what you're saying. And yeah, he was being kind of escorted like that. I saw it like him leading a pack, but I see what you're saying. It does look a little bit like he is being escorted.
I think he might be being escorted for interrogation.
Like some questioning,
considering his house is, sort of the epicenter of the missing children.
Right.
And it's inevitable that at least one Martha, probably the one that I was going to squeal because her
what happened? I don't remember.
Okay.
I know what you're talking
so there
about.
was the Martha that came with the kid, and then she's like, wait, no, I have a change of heart, panicked, and she's like, no, my mistress is kind, she will forgive us, it's fine, but I can't do this. So they realized that their time was limited. So I have a funny feeling that that Joey Lawrence was being escorted in by two guardians or two eyes for questioning, because that Martha couldn't keep her claptrap shut.
Yeah. Kiki's Martha.
Kiki, thank you. Good memory.
But it makes me I forget, little Kiki. So that makes me wonder, though, how long exactly does he last? Because we know, through the rest of the trailer, he lasts long enough to have a fireside chat with Nick. So if that was something that was happening, close on the heels of those kids disappearing, what the fuck did he make up to get out of that? I can't wait to see that.
The fireside chat happened before. Yeah. So it's, definitely.
Yeah, it did.
Absolutely think that it was Nick going to Reverend Larry's house, and they're having a fireside chat. And that's where this conversation is happening. And then after the fact, you got to bear in mind, we already know that they're going to fuck with the timeline here. They're not going to present everything in a linear fashion.
Yep.
No.
So this is how you follow it. When Joey and when Larry and Nick are talking on that couch, I mean, that I feel like is definitely safe to assume that they are sitting there together in the same scene. But Nick is in a suit. It looks to be the exact same suit that he is later seen making out with June in her handmaid's clothes, which makes me think that this is an early on meeting before she's off to wherever she's off in those clothes with that group of people that are not Gilead people, because she's in Handmaid. So I mean, who knows, for whatever reason she could be a handmaid again. It wouldn't be the first time she got out and got brought back in.
Exactly.
So but his outfit, every time we've seen Nick, I believe there's 3 shots of Nick. There's the one of him making out with June. There's one of him standing on a bridge, and there's the scene with Larry. And I think all 3 of those, he's in that same suit, or at least he happens to wear the same suit often.
Yeah. See, I was wondering about that, because all I know is the last I knew, Nick was headed off to Chicago. And then that's where he basically pieces out of the story, and we're like, no, we need more Nick.
Yeah.
So then in the trailer, when we're seeing all the Chicago stuff, I thought, okay, so at some point, June is going to go find Nick in Chicago. So that's why I was unsure of when and time things were happening and how Larry and Nick ended up in the same room together, unless Nick went back to Gilead proper to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Nick,
I don't know.
I was gonna say Nick probably did go back to Gilead proper, but I like the idea of because I like the idea of Nick playing both sides of the fence because we did see him get escorted off to Chicago, and then we are suddenly in Chicago, and like it. So it does make sense. I'm sorry, Marjorie, you had a thinky thought.
No, I was just gonna agree with what you were saying. Pretty much. I was just confirming. Yes, we're all on the same page.
Cool. I love that. And and it does make sense too because we are in later on in the trailer we have the voiceover and Reverend Larry is saying you can't save her, and then Nick and June are embracing on the bridge, / vigorously making out. Super cool. So, but maybe Nick can help save her by helping to get her into Chicago, in with the resistance, into street clothes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's lots of fun though.
Yeah, I like where you're going with there. I think that would be my gut if I had to guess.
I'm inclined to agree with that. Yeah. Nice. All right, so we see.
Then we get.
We see Nick in that suit, standing on the bridge, which gorgeous bridge, gorgeous, and for like that's the sort of bridge like we see those sort of bridges all the time in New England, like on foot trails and whatnot. So like that for me was one of, like every once in a while there's little snippets on the show that remind me of the fact that this is supposed to be happening like an hour away from where we live.
Yeah,
and that bridge was definitely one of those, like because I cross a footbridge like that on one of my hikes all the time. So
yeah.
But yeah, then we cut to Janine with her eye patch, and I love during the voiceover of the Radio Free America when we see Janine, it says we are still here.
Yeah, no matter where the war finds you today, just remember we are still here. And I'm really excited to see how many parallels we are going to continue to see. I think that's a pretty big signal that our whole idea of comparing current events to the show is going to be still going strong, because we are still here. It's just that, that is the slogan of 2016, liberal slogan. That was it right there. And I feel like them just putting it into the trailer like that is just telling us that we are continuing to watch this dystopian fictional world play out in a way that we are going to have a lot to parallel.
Absolutely. And then we have a nice cut to everyone's favorite Aunt Lids.
Oh, shit.
Lydia is,
oh boy,
she is not looking great.
No, her voiceover as June is doing things with guns is she's out there planning who knows what kind of atrocities to visit upon our righteous nation. And Aunt Lydia's got this big blinding light behind her. And then after this, my notes are really quick. I'm like, military truck, snowy field, Aunt Lids again, looking worse for wear. Find her and bring her to me.
Let me jump back just a little bit. In the shot, so we have the Billie Eilish song comes on as you're getting them heading towards the skyline, right? And I was talking with Scarlett earlier that I've watched this trailer so many times today that just the loop of what is in the trailer part of the song is just playing on a loop in my head, but it's a fantastic song. Yeah. I'm so happy with the song choice. The show is known for its kind of interesting song choices at interesting scenes, and this one just stole my heart right from the beginning. It's just so perfect. But while they're driving and the song starts playing, I couldn't see a lot of the signs. I was really trying to see if I could get an area code off of one of the phone numbers on the streets of the business signs. I could not, but there is absolutely it's called Stop Bar and Grill. And it has a Canadian flag on it that I am positive of. So they are definitely near the border somewhere.
Cool.
And that's all I got out of that.
Do we want to talk about the Billie Eilish song at all?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it more? I just think it's a great song. Do you have more on the lyrics?
I'm just pulling them up right now, and
they're great.
It's absolutely fantastic. Let's see. Bite my tongue, bide my time, wearing a warning sign, wait till the world is mine, visions I vandalize, cold in my kingdom size, fell for these ocean eyes. Like, it's, first off, her lyrics are always so poetic. I do enjoy this. Let me see. Your silence is my favorite sound. Watch me make them bow one by one by one by one.
The next verse is
Count
great.
my cards, watch them fall, blood on a marble wall. Which, if that's not screaming handmaids, I don't know what is. I like the way they all scream. Tell me which one is worse, living or dying first. Sleeping inside a hearse, I don't dream. It's a very appropriate song. Also, question is the "You Should See Me in a Crown," is that in reference to the BBC show Sherlock? I think this might be a fandom within a fandom thing. In the BBC, or on the remake, or the most recent iteration of Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, there is a fantastic villain, Moriarty, and he, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, the TV show is fucking 5 years old at this point. He breaks into to Buckingham Palace and actually manages to get into the crown jewels. Oh, shit. And when he's being interrogated, he says, "Honey, you should see me in a crown." And it's just so evil and delicious the way that he says it. So I feel like this might be a reference to that.
Interesting. I love it. It definitely fits.
I freaking love the song. I just put it on my playlist.
I have a couple others you should add to your playlist.
Okay.
But I have a terrible memory, so I'll have to get back to you. But there's a song. So I was playing this one, and my kid heard it and came in, and she's like, "What you listening to?" And so she then recommended some other Billie Eilish songs that she thought I would like. And one of them, I wish I could remember off the top of my head what it was called, but she said it's about her frustration with being asked about her relationship status when she's being interviewed.
Okay.
So I haven't heard that one yet. I can't remember. I don't know. My kid made me a playlist. I'm not sure if I heard it, but I have a lot of other Billie Eilish songs to come your way because my kid is really into her.
Excellent.
Yes.
So this great Billie Eilish song starts, and Aunt Lids is looking like she's been run through the ringer. How do you think she came upon those injuries on her face?
I don't know. Is this before or after the ass beating with June?
All right. Seriously. I'm thinking probably from that altercation. Potentially. That's
what I was thinking as well, especially considering she's definitely gone on the lam, or she's definitely on the lam at this point, and the manhunt would be, or the woman hunt would be in full force at this point. And also Aunt Lydia would understand that if anyone was going to plan something of this caliber, it would be June. I'm inclined to agree with that. I just wasn't sure if you two thought that maybe like Aunt Lydia had undergone some other sort of punishment for having handmaids under her watch that would be so bold and brazen as to plan an attack like this. That perhaps there was a course correction from a commander who was angry that his child is now in Canada, or something of similar effect.
Yeah, I thought so. At first, that was definitely my thought. Was like, "Ooh, she's already been questioned." But then I saw that shot with June later, and I'm like, "It could be that too." We'll see.
I'm leaning for Lydia's sake that it's from her altercation with June, but I don't think that we should completely eliminate the possibility that Lydia has been interrogated about this, and roughly.
Yes, I agree.
So this is cool because that means that there are potentially 2 instances where Aunt Lydia just gets payback for what a fucking terrible person she is, even though we do know from testaments that maybe she's not that terrible. I don't know.
She's a complex character.
This is why she is, and that's why this like her fate and stuff and the fucking testaments have forever infiltrated my brain, and I can't think of anything properly in just relation to the show, because those 2 scenes with June with Aunt Lydia, and featuring her like being assaulted by June. And then the other thing, I'm like, okay, so obviously they meet, and is this the part where Lydia becomes resistance?
I was thinking about that too.
Is this meeting like the catalyst where where they decide this is how we're going to proceed, and maybe by the end of season 4, Aunt Lydia stops her quest to persecute June
Yeah.
And this is where, she starts to kind of like veer things away from her, hopefully, so June can do resistance work and then they collaborate from afar. That's what I'm hoping for.
So we talked about that with the Testaments a little bit. I do remember thinking, because there's a certain line in the Testaments where she says, she's talking about her past 15 years ahead of time. And she says something to the effect of, there was a time when I almost believed what I was perpetrating. And we had kind of guessed that maybe we haven't even seen, maybe we're seeing the part where she believes now, and we haven't seen her, the catalyst of her changing and reversing course or returning to course, or however you want to look at it. She's complex. Right. But yeah, I definitely had the same thoughts during this trailer that this might be the turning point for her.
And we had also hypothesized while doing the Testaments that they were going to utilize season 4 as a transitional season, going from seasons 1, 2, and 3 being The Handmaid's Tale, and based on the book, and then a close spin-off of the original book, and then utilizing season 4 as a springboard to get us into the Testaments. Since it's the Handmaid's Tale universe, and it makes sense it makes sense for them to utilize that as a rubric for any subsequent seasons. So we had talked about that potentially being that this like a transitional season. So if that's the case, then this would make sense that this is the season that Aunt Lydia shifts her loyalties.
We'll see though. I'm so curious to see what they're gonna do with the series, because as far as I can tell online, they're doing a separate series of the Testaments. It's at least sort of in the works of some sort. I don't know. So I'm not sure how they get from finishing the Handmaid's Tale story to transitioning to making the Testament something different, which makes, it is totally possible. It's 15 years in advance. Right. So it could happen.
Yeah, but I think this is a bit of a deviation from the trailer, but we had talked about that as well, and how successful spin-off shows are, and they're very rarely as successful as their original. So we thought that, God, I think we talked about it for like a solid half hour, 45 minutes. I think like ultimately the three of us, in our infinite wisdom about television shows and how they are run, decided that the best option was going to be for them to continue with it as The Handmaid's Tale. Because I still can't think of any spin-off shows that were significantly better than the original. In fact, I don't
know about spin-off shows, but I will say that I also don't often find TV shows based on books to be better than the books. True. And I do find that this show is an exception to the rule. Not better, but at least certainly builds upon in a way that makes me very happy and fulfilled. So that being said, if they think they can make a whole new Testament series and make it work and have the ideas be there, and they want to take Handmaid's Tale and segue into that somehow, go for it. I'm here for it.
The show has been an absolute treat, and there are very few people that would disagree. There are very few people that would disagree with your sentiment of them being equally as good. So we have to trust that they know what they're doing, because they're the professionals.
Back to this trailer, because we're still in Handmaid's Tale. Oh, we got the 2 guards coming in, busting through the door with flashlights. 2 people, I don't know. You can't tell who they are at all, as far as I can see. But there is a room full of girls, and at first look, it looks like a bunch of like Econo people, young girls, but it's definitely Janine and Brianna and a couple others.
Elma's definitely there too.
Is she there? I didn't.
Yep.
Wait, is she next to Brianna?
I don't know.
Okay.
What the fuck is my phone?
All I know is I wrote Janine has Brianna on one side and a fearless faced girl on the other side. She is not playing around. Every single girl in the shot that I was able to freeze it on looks terrified, understandably so, as those lights are flashed on them, except for one girl, and she is looking maybe it's Alma and I just didn't recognize her, but she doesn't look afraid at all. She is like just standing there like, go ahead, what do you want?
I believe that was Alma.
Shit, how did I not recognize her? She's definitely around, because we do see her in another scene.
I cannot get this shit to pause in the right spot.
I'm getting so mad.
It's okay. Alma, not Alma. It doesn't matter. We know Alma's around in these Econo people clothing.
Well, it's not Econo people clothing, though.
What is it?
They're all wearing, it looks like white.
it looks like dingy white to me.
Huh.
So that's why I was like, what the hell are they wearing? Like, it looks like they could be wearing like underclothes, like that kind of.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't jump out at me as the Kano people initially, but I just don't know what other color that would happen to be.
It really looks like a cream color to me, or like whitish. And I mean, the only time that we've ever seen women wearing white in Gilead is for marriage and childbirth, so I'm not really sure where they're picking up this clothing from. They look like nightgowns. It looks like the nightgowns that June would wear.
That's how I looked at it as well, as it looked like the nightgowns. There's also the notion that there is going to be some color distortion because like you're talking like they're busting in with these flashlights that they're waving around, so it's automatically going to like make the fabric look washed out. Yeah. But you're right. Like from the quick glance that we do get, to me, it definitely looks like nightgowns.
Yeah, interesting.
So,
and then we see two handmaids running along train tracks. There was where my autumn shot like kind of died because it looks very winter. The trees are very barren, and like you said, leaves stay on the ground for forever. So that's all I got out of that scene. Then we're back with this is a weird scene, right? It is a table. Looks like they're all eating some kind of meal together. You get June saying the word together by itself. Yeah. You get Alma, but there's a wife at the head of the table, and it's all these girls in those weird clothing, whatever they are. So we see Alma, we see Brianna. Is it Brienne? What's her name? That was my favorite girl, too. I don't remember her name.
Brianna.
It is Brianna. Okay.
Why
For some reason, I just questioned myself after the 8th time I said
Brianna.
it. Brianna, my girl. And then we get that little wife at that table. Now, are you familiar with this little wife? Because I know a little bit about her.
I didn't get a good look at her.
Okay, so we do get a shot of her later when she's talking with June. It is the same person, but the only reason I know it's the same person, I'm not positive that this is McKenna Grace in this shot, but I am quite sure it has to be. But McKenna Grace has been cast to play someone named Mrs. Keys. That's all we know. McKenna Grace is a young girl. My kid had to explain to me who she was. She was in the movie called Gifted that I am very familiar with that she's been in. She was incredible. She was incredible. She's a tiny little thing. She plays a little gifted child in the show, in this movie. And her acting, I remember watching that, and her acting just blew me away as a child. I cannot wait to see her in this show. Oh, I am so thrilled. But her character sounds fascinating. So we know she's young. I'm not sure exactly how old she's playing, but she's clearly young. And I'm pretty sure that this is her, but I'm positive that we see her later, not in wife's clothing. Oh, and then it looks like, so if she's the one in the wife's clothing, my guess is that this is some kind of hiding ground. Like some, like some kind of like a underground household that is hiding them there somewhere. I'm wondering how much time if this is an in-between time between Handmaid Red, then these weird nightgown clothing on their way up to Chicago.
That is a good point, is that sort of does it sort of harkens back to when June is making her original first escape, and she's being transported from one truck to another, and not really no one's answering any questions, and then she has to spend that time at the Boston Globe, and then there's a lot of transport that's happening, the cover of night, lots of flashlights, so it did actually kind of harken back to those scenes. So that's a really solid possibility that this is that they're mid-transport, so to say, or mid-transition.
Yeah.
And we do know that the underground female road is a thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So this might be a stopping off point. Also, did it strike you when they were sitting down eating that they looked like they were dressed in Martha's clothes?
Yeah.
Actually.
See, I kept trying to figure it out because I feel like it's all these weird drab clothing and it's more or less the same, but it does kind of feel different. I thought Martha at one point there.
Yeah.
Later, I think Econo people when it's just I don't know. It's this weird clothing. I don't know what it is, but it's not street clothes. So I'm guessing Gilead. Some form.
It read as Martha to me as well. It could also just be that it's the old clothes that they were able to procure from some shipment, or it could just have no meaning other than here's all of this clothing that we managed to find, or maybe it's clothing from the unwomen that they're sending off to the colonies.
Right. It looks all very similar. So but I think that you're right. It could still just be a bunch of spare uniform clothing, whatever the hell it is. I guess you'd call them uniforms. But interesting. And the kitchen that they're sitting in at that table is big. It's very fancy kitchen. And I was just trying to get a feel for, I mean, maybe it's not even a kitchen. It's just the ceilings are high. It was an interesting room that was happening there. And then you see him smiling, and it did kind of make me feel like a Last Supper kind of shot.
Yeah.
It seems so happy, but it's Gilead, so we know everything is tense. And it almost felt like they finally got one moment to just kind of let their guard down and enjoy themselves before they're on to their next stop.
All happiness is fleeting in Gilead, and they are still in Gilead. Yeah. So yeah, I like that possibility.
June's voiceover for like immediately next is "We're an army."
We don't.
And then she says it. I think that one's not a voiceover, right? We see her say that. She's outside.
I don't remember. I just remember her saying that.
I'm pretty sure that's the way I wrote my notes, that it looks like it. That's what happened. But she's outside, but she's in that same like unidentifiable clothing. But she looks pretty pissed. Like every shot we've seen of June so far has been like, not every shot, but like when she's in the truck, at one point she actually gulps, and it's like, wow, we don't see June look like visibly nervous very often, and to see her throat gulp like that made me feel tense. And this scene, she just looked really like defiant, I guess. So she says, "We're an army," and then you get the aerial shot of the handmaids marching in the circle around Lydia, or I assume so Lydia. Cool. It's so cool. And I just have. Oh, sorry, Roxy. I thought you were.
No,
else.
I just had a thought.
Okay.
So we're hypothesizing as to why she would keep her ear tag in, and we're thinking about like them like wearing all this different clothing, a possible transitional period. Why the hell would they show them in the back of the truck, in the handmaid's garb, like when we see her visibly swallowing? It's armor. It's protection. It's the only thing that will save their necks, because because guardians are not going to fire on handmaids because they're fertile women, and they're not going to kill them. They're not going to. They're going to keep them alive. So the only thing that's going to keep the people alive in the back of the back of a resistance truck is if they're dressed like handmaids and they have ear tags that prove that they're fertile women.
Although at this point, if they're caught, do you think they would rather just be killed there than to go back to Gilead again? Because I feel like that's how I would feel.
Probably, but also like you're no good to the resistance dead.
That is true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sorry. Like I was just thinking about that. I was like,
what? You kind of just sent me on a rabbit hole with that thought. It's kind of out there. But so we've been talking about handmaids' clothing and trying to figure out this timeline. What if they kept the tags in because they go up to Chicago and infiltrate Gilead as handmaids again? And if June and Nick in that reunion is in, you know what, I don't like that idea, because I like what you're saying about those bridges are definitely a New England thing, and I like that idea of it being in the beginning. But where I was going with that is, what if she ends up going up to Chicago? I don't like that idea. Never mind. But but I was just thinking, if she keeps the tag in, though, it does also leave that open for her to come back in some way, shape, or form. And if it's possible that Lydia is already part of the resistance and is already operating in some way, then that very well could have been her suggestion to June of, keep this tag in your ear in case we need you to go back in, or something. I don't know.
Interesting. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Aunt Lydia looks fucking worried when she's got handmaids circling her. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Now, my gut tells me that this shot is actually us as viewers getting to see what is happening in Gilead. As I'm guessing this is some kind of, any residual handmaids are now being taught that this is never something that you are going to do again, and you are going to be punished just for being left behind, because some handmaids were very unruly, and now you will all be taught a lesson.
Oh, I bet.
This might also be the introduction of the mouth rings. Because we have hypothesized as to if we would see them making their appearance in the Northeast, and I mean, we might end up seeing them in season 4. If we are talking handmaids that are left behind being punished for the sins of those that went on ahead. It's
definitely possible.
Yeah, not crazy about the idea, but we need to just kind of like wrap our heads around the fact that they kind of eased off on some of like the uncomfortable stuff in season 3 until we saw the rings, and then we're just like, oh, this is very uncomfortable. And And I hope that they continue to push that envelope. So that might be a thing. Mentally prepare yourselves, ladies. We have no evidence of that in the trailer. This is all just conjecture.
Total conjecture.
I do also like that, like, in this trailer, though, we do see Fred and Serena. We skipped over them.
So this is where my lighting is.
Yes.
Okay. Just little things. This is not a lighting theory. This is just because I spent so much time in season 3 watching lights. I know that I feel quite confident in saying that shot of Fred, he is still in that hotel prison in Canada, because I am sure that those are the same lights that are on the wall in season 3. Because I looked at them a whole lot. Also,
you sure did.
That shot of Nick and Larry on the couch is absolutely positively Larry's study. Because again, those lights are surely the same set.
And it's surely the same fireplace that we have seen umpteen times, and we discussed the way that the fire or that the light from the fire is thrown.
I know that room.
Yeah, those were 2 very familiar scenes. Like, the study was unmistakable. And then it took me a moment, like, but I agree with you that Fred is still in that prison because it looks very much like it. I just think like it took a couple of like rewatches of that quick little shot to realize it.
Yeah. I had to pause it because I was like trying to look at his clothing and I was trying to look at anything I could gauge to like figure out where he was at this point. Is he back in Gilead? Is he still in Canada? And then I saw that wall sconce and I went, oh, I remember that thing. I remember that. I stared at that for a long time trying to get it to tell me something.
And mercifully, all of that staring at it has come in handy now with the
Here
trailer.
I am to confirm that it's Canada until the show gets released and I'm wrong. And we'll
Oh, come on. Very rarely does that happen.
Oh, it's definitely a possibility. Surely there are wall sconces in other rooms.
Are there? I thought wall sconces were a purely Canadian thing.
Only Canadian war prisons. Prisoner of wars. Special ones.
My word.
Fred seems to think she'll start a war.
Yeah, and he could be talking about just about anyone.
Yeah, I know. Unlike between the Resistance and Gilead, I thought that was already happening between Canada and Gilead, between Canada Resistance and Gilead.
Or I thought
between
he meant
what's left of the U.S.
Was he talking about June, Serena,
Lydia?
Yeah.
Because we know Serena's on the hook, so she's going to say what she needs to say. I'm assuming he's talking about June. It's definitely safe to assume that that's a strong possibility, but I did wonder if it was Serena or Lydia as well.
I don't think that he was talking about Serena, but I do think he was talking about, I think there's a strong possibility that he was talking about Lydia as well, because we have the voiceover with Lydia. That shot is coming on the heels of us seeing Lydia's face and saying that she's out there planning who knows what kind of atrocities to and like, so the timing of it did bring around that implication that he could be talking about Lydia as well.
Yeah,
I love that.
Then we get a real quick shot of Serena, and I literally got nothing from this shot.
Nothing at all.
Other than Serena will be in season 4. It's confirmed.
Yeah. She is dressed in normal clothing in that one particular scene. Excellent.
She has her hair down. She looks exactly how we left her. She doesn't seem to be necessarily arrested, but she doesn't seem to not be. So we'll see.
Ambiguity, but she exists.
She exists. Then we get a flare being lit, and we get Moira in what looks to be some kind of war zone, and I have so many. I don't have any really thoughts. I have lots of questions. So, like, what is she doing?
I've got lots
Where
of
is
questions,
she?
no thoughts.
Yeah. My one thought was maybe that for the look on her face, she seems genuinely shocked in a way that it looks like this is a place that she is familiar with that has just gotten bombed, because we see that the car is on fire. So it's pretty safe to say this is probably a bombing. It looks like that kind of aftermath. And we know that, certainly areas in Canada would be targeted in this war. So it's possible she's still in Canada. It's possible she's somewhere in Gilead, and it's possible she's in some kind of middle ground area. But she seemed to look it just felt to me like this was a surprise. Like she came up on this scene not realizing that it had just been bombed. But that's just...
She looks horrified.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no thoughts as to where she was, just that it was Moira. I was very excited to see her. And that she does look genuinely shocked. Yeah. I think at this point of the trailer, despite multiple rewatches, I started to get so giddy that I stopped actively like responding, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening! Oh my gosh, this is happening!" Like every single time I would watch the trailer.
So then we've talked it to death, I'm pretty sure. But the next shot is the Larry and Nick. You can't save her.
Yeah.
And then
Suddenly,
we get June. No, so then we get June finally losing the damn handmaid guard for what I pray is the last time that we ever get to see her rid herself of this clothing. And it looks like it's probably, my gut tells me that sewer that she went down is where she's now losing those clothes. I think it looks like she's burning them, but we just see her taking them off, and you get like the lighting of the sewer above her, and it looks kind of like Halo-ish. And she's just such a beautiful, beautiful shot. I love that.
I love it, and I love that it looks as though she's purging it from herself, and I love like the fact that she looks like she's rising up. Very Phoenix rising from the ashes cliche.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely like it felt more cathartic than when she was burning the clothes in in the Globe. When she was at Boston Globe and she was throwing all in the incinerator, it felt more of like a disgust sort of thing, getting rid of them. But this, it felt like she was purging it up from her entire entity.
Yeah, right. Like I am closing this chapter in my life one way or the other.
And she like stood up in a very triumphant way, as opposed to like an angered way. So
yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Makes me think of an animal like shedding its skin.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that was very pleasing watching that.
And then we get the shot of Mrs. Keys, and I'm like 90. I mean, if I'm wrong, I will be so very shocked, but I'm quite positive that is McKenna Grace, and she is playing a character named Mrs. Keys, and this is where you get the quote from June that says, "We don't hide, we fight."
Where do you get this shot with Mrs. Keys? Where is that?
So she's not in wife clothing, which is why I didn't notice it until I slowed it down. And then I went, oh, that's McKenna Grace. That has to be her. That's definitely her.
Okay.
I can actually see her face much more clearer than in that wife shot. I am only assuming that that's her in that wife shot because I am so sure that this is her in this shot. Which is interesting that she's not in wife's clothing and makes me think, is she like going to be some kind of ploy? Like, did they put this child in this wife's outfit and make her act like a wife in order to do what they need to do, like have some kind of, pass of this wife transporting all these women in white or strange clothing, like whatever it is. Like, I'm wondering if they're making her look like a wife for cover.
Possible.
Maybe.
Who knows? We shall see.
We shall see.
Are we to the part where Aunt Lydia is getting choked out yet?
Yes, that is exactly the next scene I have. So go for it.
Oh boy. God, I just needed more of that, but we know what's going to happen at some point. This is going to be a thing that's going to happen.
Yep.
And I need more. I need more of that particular episode that happens in.
Yeah. And I suppose it is a bit of a spoiler that we know that Aunt Lydia is going to survive, but also it's just going to be really gratifying watching Aunt Lydia get some sort of comeuppance and some sort of punishment and torture for all the torture and punishments that she has rained upon these girls.
Like, do you think June beats some sense into her or something? I just want to know more.
See, my gut, like the way I want to see it play out, and I have no idea if this even makes sense, but I want to see it play out as if this is not Lydia's transition. This is Lydia transitioned. June gets her in that position only to find out that Lydia is actually on her side. And that's when they have this conversation. That's what I'd like to see. Who knows what the fuck's actually going to happen. But that would then lead me to think that that beating she took was actually from someone of authority and not from June. Yeah. I just like to see it as June attacking her, thinking that she's caught, only to find out that Lydia's like, bitch, I'm here to help you. Get in that van. They're taking you to Canada. Something like that,
After this, we have a shackled hand reaching out to Hannah.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I forgot all about the Hannah shots.
Yeah. Super weird, right?
Yeah.
Now, so you have Hannah she looks back towards the hand. The hand is creepy. My gut tells me it's okay. So here's June, my question. That's what I think. But then what the fuck? What's happening? And did we see? So we had done a recording of another trailer. Remember that? in that trailer, it was different. It wasn't an official trailer. I don't know what the hell we were watching. Turns out that recording never worked. So no one's seen it but us. But in that,
I remember
the record, you know what I'm talking about, Scarlett?
Where Hannah was in a cage. Hannah was in a cage.
Yeah, she was. We saw her in a cage, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm like, somewhere I've seen this child in a cage, and I don't know where else it was. So this is why I'm assuming it's that cage. But we saw more shots of this in that other trailer that we watched. So we'll have to go back and look at that again now that we've broken this one down so intensely to see what else we can see from those shots. But yeah, we do get to see more of Hannah locked up in some kind of box. A la you.
That's what I thought of too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the glass box.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I thought about that as well. Who's to say? Now, my guess though is that it's her Martha and not June.
Okay.
Partially because I don't want to see June shackled and have Hannah go through that trauma. But also, I don't know. I get this, like, again, based off of no actual factual statements, but there's got to be a safe presumption here that the Marthas are going to see punishments for their hand in the exodus of children as well. So there's probably going to be circumstances where the Marthas are going to be tortured and interrogated for information. So that's why my guess is like Hannah looks back at that person with a sense of familiarity. And the only person that she would feel any sort of comfort and trust with, other than June, and her new mom, would be her Martha. So I think it's a very real possibility that the Martha network is being purged.
So then we're going to be introduced to if it is a Martha, we'll be introduced to a new Martha. Because remember, her Martha in season 3 was hung for helping coordinate visits and stuff. So I wonder.
Yep. Right.
But we do know from the testaments that Hannah had 3 Marthas.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes I like that thought. I hadn't thought about that at all.
June and Nick make out.
Oh yeah. So that's that. Were they in the tunnel at that point?
They were on the bridge.
I don't think they're tunnel. I keep calling the bridge a tunnel. I don't know why I say that. I wrote it in my notes the first time I typed it. I'm like, that's not a tunnel.
Yeah, they were on the bridge. The same bridge that we see Nick on. Nick on waiting for someone and wearing the same suit. It's the same weather. So we have to presume it's happening within the same shot.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, that makes my heart so happy. But it kind of makes you feel like they're saying goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like a goodbye. It either felt like a haven't seen you in ages hello or a very passionate goodbye. Either way, outlook not great for them. We already know that they're star-crossed lovers. I mean, they'll never get their happy ending.
Just based on the fact that their lives have been so miserable? What do you mean?
No, meaning they'll never get their happy ending where they get to run off into the sunset together. Like, so I feel like this is one of the based off of no information other than this trailer. I get the feeling that this is just like that their scenes together will be pretty limited.
Okay, I just thought you were saying like. I thought you were implying like we know in the Testaments that they don't get their happy ending. I'm like, I don't think the Testaments tells us anything about how they.
Yeah, the Testaments gives us no information.
That's all I thought you were saying. Yeah. Yes, gotcha. Then we get a quick shot of June in the clothing that we see in that first shot with like the yellow and the blue and the backpack and the brown, those colors. And there's like a bomb going off behind her, and then. That's quick. I don't really have anything else in that shot. And then we get the shot of like looks like a Canadian port of some sort.
Yeah, we got port, docks, people, Canadian flag.
Yeah, some big old security armored vans.
And June wearing the same clothing that she's wearing at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, did we see June on the port? How did I not miss that? This was like right at 8:00 when I was trying to jump on with you, and I was like, okay, I think I'm done.
Yeah, they show her
June's on the
standing there, and they say, "My name is," and then we have her voiceover. "My name is June Osborne. Totally I am a citizen of the United States." I mean, I could be mistaken, but that definitely looked like it was on the port or on the dock.
I just did. I see what you're saying. I didn't pay attention to that part. I thought you were saying that aerial shot that you could see her there. I didn't see anything. I just saw tiny little people and didn't even bother looking to see who it was.
How thick my glasses are? I can't see
that.
No, I think there's at least a strong implication that June is on that dock.
Okay, so you're talking about that last close-up that we
Yes.
get of her face when she says hello. Oh, yeah, and that's when she's got that fresh bruise. Because I don't think she has it in the first scene when we see her in the
She
same
does
clothing,
not.
but then you see her with a big old bruise, like something happened right before she got to wherever she got to make that statement.
Perhaps it was during that little tussle with Aunt Liz.
That is possible
Maybe.
as well. Oh, we don't have enough information to make any logical guesses, but it was really fun playing this game.
It was so,
and I am so excited.
Yeah, we've definitely been salivating for new content. So obviously, any morsel that we get is going to be delectable. But there were some really good gems in here, and you're right, like so many quick little flash snippet shots that, like, if you didn't take the time to stop and pause, like, you just end up getting overwhelmed with them and missing some of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely delightful.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was at with this whole viewing. I'm like, oh, sausage fingers work faster. Why can I not just pause in the right spot so I could see the thing? And I gave up after a while.
Yeah, makes sense.
I was getting frustrated.
And April 28th, we found out that it is going to be another 3-episode drop.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. Oh, let's do a little housekeeping at the end of this.
Yeah.
So just to update some people, anyone that's with what's going on. So during our remote recording, we have been playing around with different options. So if you have listened to us through the rewatch, then you have heard all sorts of different qualities of audio. And thank you so much for bearing with us. But we are aware that this has been an issue. So we are rapidly approaching fixing this in not a second too soon, because right after we found new software that has been performing much better for us, the season 4 announcement came, and we will be much better and ready to go. Our audio will be fixed. We've got some Mr. Scarlet audio tech happening between all of us to really make things perfect. But that being said, we have recorded several episodes that have not even been published yet.
Yeah.
And one we are stuck on because we have to, right after this, re-record it. And it'll be coming to you, Women's Work Part 1, which we are going to record again for the first time ever. We've always talked about having to do this. We've always feared getting through an entire recording only to have no audio, something drastic, and have to re-record and try to talk about it as if we hadn't already just talked about it. But here we are. We're going to do it. Women's Work coming at you. But that being said, the point of this is that the audio is going to be, we know that the audio for the last couple of episodes has been rough. There's been time issues and sound issues. So Women's Work Part 1, according to, if all goes according to plan, will sound so much better. That being said, it's a very nice preview as to where things are going, but Women's Work Part 2, as well as how many other episodes do we still have recorded? Women's Work Part 2.
We've got Smart Power, but we have to do it over.
Yeah.
So that one will sound good.
Yeah. Last Ceremony will be fine.
Yeah.
And then we're into Last Ceremony. So really, it's only Women's Work Part 2 that is going to be rough sound-wise. We know. Bear with us, because moving on, we have found some solutions and we're continuing to improve upon them. So
and it's actually not even that bad from my perspective.
No,
I mean,
it's
I
really
think
not.
I moved some shit around and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. From your perspective, more than anyone, Scarlett is happy that we finally fixed this and she won't have to spend hours upon hours trying to piece together our audio to make any kind of sense. Also, patrons, thank you so much for your support, because we wouldn't have been able to do these upgrades and make this happen and get through this, like learning how to remote record without your support and those donations. So thank you. We know that there is a lot more that can happen on Patreon, and stay tuned because it's coming. We're getting there. There's new content, and we will have lots of exciting new things for our subscribers and our patrons.
Really exciting new things. I'm so excited.
Yeah. And we're so grateful and thankful for every single one of you. And even just like the listeners, but those of you that are patrons of ours, thank you 1,000 times. Exactly like Marjorie said, your continued support is what helps to make this all possible and helps us with these upgrades and helps us to be able to increase the quality of the product that we are giving you. So we hope that is reflected starting with Smart Power and moving on from there. So
yes,
we're very appreciative of every single one of you. We would still be doing this even if no one listened, but it's really nice knowing that, you guys are still listening.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, it really is.
Thank you.
And kind of on the heels of that, we should also really thank our solid listeners that have stayed with us from the end of season 3 through all of this like off-season content that we've been doing to kind of fill our catalog in and to practice just what we do as the three of us to get ready for season 4. There's a real solid core group of listeners that listen to every single, we have numbers for every episode that are just really consistent, and through over a year of no new content, like thank you so much for just staying tuned and tuning in every week. Moving forward, I think we've already started to see some jumps in our downloads and listens and follows and social media and stuff because of the new content. So as we're bringing new listeners in, that's exciting. But our core group, thank you. Thank you for listening to us through all of this rewatching and audio issues and everything. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So
absolutely. And I think that as much as it's been helpful for us to have this sort of consistency where we are doing this, and like granted we kind of fell off the rails there for a bit because because COVID and the entire world was turning into a garbage fire around us. It's been nice having this sort of sense of stability, so we hope that we've been able to offer that to you as well, like a little bit of escapism and some sort of semblance of normality.
So we're gonna go get back on our rewatch and have some more episodes coming to you there, and we will end this for now. If you have any thoughts on the trailer, any theories you want to throw our way, let us know. Can't wait to talk about it.
Bye.
Peace out.